Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Abigail Gonzalez, and I am one of the dietitians who works here at RPM Logix, and I am also the nutrition director. So that's why I'm starting this presentation just to welcome you to the webinar. Like you all know, RPM Logix is partnered with your physician, and we are here to provide different services to you. Our mission is to provide education and then also to motivate you all to live healthier lives. So like you know, you're part of this program, so you get access to our registered dietitians and diabetes educators. So if you are interested in working one-on-one with one of us, you can always send us an email. You can ask your nurse or care manager, or you can also give us a call. The invitation that you got this webinar from has an email address attached to it. It's success@rpmlogix.com. So you can always send an email there and say, hey, I would like to work with a dietitian or a diabetes educator, and we will be happy to connect you. So this webinar will run for about 30 to 35 minutes. And at the end, you will have a chance to ask questions. And actually, you can type your questions. There's a box at the bottom of the Zoom link that says Q&A. You can click there and then type your question as Gila is going, and then we will be happy to answer them at the end. So today we will have a very, very exciting topic. We're going to be focusing on exercise, which is beneficial in so many aspects and ways, and Gila will tell us more about that. Gila is also one of the dietitians who works here with us at RPM Logix. She is very knowledgeable. She loves working with patients, and she also loves to write. So I'm pretty sure that we will learn a lot from her presentation. And I love to join this presentation just because I get a couple of tips myself to apply and then also to give to my patients. So Gila, I give the mic to you. So tell us what we have to learn today.
Thanks so much, Abigail. Good afternoon, everybody. So this webinar is entitled Staying Active in Any Season. And if you like wordplay or puns like I do, let me tell you why this is a cool title. So if you look at it, you probably figured it out already yourself. Staying active in any season can have one of two meanings. So one meaning is we're transitioning now into fall, into autumn. And so thinking about ways that we can be physically active in the autumn season as temperatures get cooler, and we're pretty close to winter at this point as well. So how can we stay active as the seasons change, as it gets colder? At some points, it might even get really snowy in the future, et cetera, depending on where you live. For other places where people live, sometimes the summer can be so hot, it can be hard to be outside. So that can be another consideration. Another meaning of staying active in any season is a season of life. So as we get older, our bodies don't always want to do the same things that we've done in the past. They don't always tolerate the same things, and we've had more wear and tear on our bodies. And it could really be at any age. We might have a sort of injury that leads us to have a lifelong sensitivity in our bodies, and we have to always pay attention to that. The most important thing when exercising is getting medical clearance, as well as listening to your body. So if you're in an exercise class or you're doing group exercise, you always want to tune into how you're feeling and respect and listen to the needs of your body, because nobody else is in your body except for you. So you know your body best. Okay, so when we think about exercise recommendations, so staying healthy and managing chronic illness, exercise is a big part of that. Nutrition is also an important part, but today we're going to be focusing on the exercise portion. So general exercise recommendations is 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity exercise or 300 minutes a week of light intensity exercise. So there's a talk test you can do to figure out how rigorous your exercise is. A low intensity exercise would be that while you exercise, you can talk and sing and you don't lose your breath or become breathless at all. Moderate intensity would be you can talk comfortably while you're exercising, but you can't sing. And vigorous intensity is that you can just fit a few words here and there in. Otherwise, speaking is going to cause you to gasp for breath while doing it. And I did not list vigorous activity previously because we're going to be focusing today on examples of moderate intensity and low intensity. Those are very beneficial in managing chronic illness. and vigorous intensity is associated with a higher risk of injury, and they're also just not feasible later in life all the time for many. So we're focusing on moderate intensity and low intensity. And I myself also, I like to focus on moderate intensity as well as low intensity. I find those to be the most beneficial and the lowest risk of injury, which is great, because what happens when we get injured sends us out of commission from being able to exercise at all. So looking into healthy ways to stay active and prevent injury risk is the goal here. There are a lot of benefits to moderate intensity exercise, as I've mentioned some already. So others will include diabetes prevention, diabetes management, preventing high blood pressure, managing high blood pressure, reducing risk of heart disease, living longer, and it also reduces depression symptoms. And even if one does not have clinical depression, it also just improves mood overall. Can also reduce things like stress, anxiety, feelings of depression, etc. Examples of moderate intensity exercise. So walking, particularly at a brisk pace, around 3 miles per hour or quicker. Swimming, bicycle, cycling, hiking, aerobics, Zumba, and dance. And again, it all depends on the individual way that you're doing these exercises. Sometimes you might be able to do them and they're a little bit more light intensity. Sometimes the way you do them might turn into kind of a vigorous intensity, but they can all be done to achieve a moderate intensity exercise, which is kind of the golden mean that we're looking at when we can achieve moderate intensity exercise to help manage our chronic conditions and prevent health problems. So low intensity exercise has a lot of the same benefits as moderate intensity exercise, including improving mood, enhancing well-being. It also increases your fitness levels, helps you to maintain and build muscle mass, prevent dementia, improve mobility, and manage stress. So the benefits of low intensity exercise also apply to being benefits for moderate intensity exercise. And I'm listing them here as to say that you are getting a lot out of doing low intensity exercises. Examples: water aerobics, yoga, the type of yoga that's restorative, particularly, Pilates, resistance training. And we'll talk more about resistance training later as well as its own category. Walking, so before we mentioned that moderate intensity walking starts at about 3.0 miles per hour or so. So a light intensity walk would be around 2 miles per hour, 2.5 miles per hour. And Tai Chi. Have any of you guys ever tried Tai Chi? You can let me know in the chat box. What is Tai Chi? So I want to go into a little bit more about Tai Chi because I'm guessing before you came to this talk today, you heard about walking and you recognize walking. Tai Chi is not as well known, and that's why I wanted to give it an opportunity now to go into a little bit more about what that is, because it's a really great opportunity to improve health and improve conditioning and flexibility. Tai Chi is a type of Qigong, which is an ancient Chinese tradition. Tai Chi was originally created as self-defense. It involves slow, graceful movements. Movements flow from one to the next, generally. And there's a set order of movements that you will use often when you're doing Tai Chi. So it's known as meditation in motion is one way to think of it. If you've ever been to a park and you've seen people doing some sort of movement and their arms are kind of going in like circular directions and you're not really sure what they're doing, it could be that they're doing Tai Chi or perhaps another form of Qigong. So there's a sequence of movements that's already been set out that a lot of Tai Chi classes will actually repeat the same sequence of movements each time. But always we know we bring our bodies into something. We might be feeling a little bit differently. Something might be tweaked or our thoughts might be different. So even when you're doing the same sequence of exercises with Tai Chi or any other form of exercise, we know that our experience of those exercises is not always going to be uniform. And that goes back to what we talked about earlier, where you always want to listen to your body. And in addition, always pay attention to your breathing and continue breathing throughout exercise. Breathing throughout your exercise sessions, no matter what type of exercise it is a great way to pace your exercise and to stay in touch with your body and prevent injury. And it's also more nourishing because we need oxygen. It's great for the brain and for all health purposes. So Tai Chi in particular, you can do it alone. It's better to do it in a group. And I'll get a little more into that in a moment. You can see these are some folks doing it outside. You can do it indoors or you can do it outdoors, such as in a park, like we talked about. Like with all exercise, always important to consult your doctor before starting any new exercises. So things that you want to look out for, particularly would also be if you have joint problems, back pain, fractures, severe osteoporosis, or a hernia. If you have those things, consult your doctor before starting Tai Chi. And even if you don't have any of those, still consult your doctor before starting Tai Chi or any new form of exercise. So we talked about getting medical clearance. Also, when you're listening to your body, you might notice that some postures are not as welcoming in your body. And so you can not do those. You can take a break. You can do another more gentle posture while the class is doing that posture or position, or you can modify it. Hopefully, the teacher involved will also help with suggesting modifications for those people who can't do the exact positions. But again, if the teacher is not offering modifications, you can just kind of stand in place or do something more gentle related to what the current position the class is doing at that time. It is important to use proper technique to prevent injury. Benefits of Tai Chi: improves mood, decreases stress, anxiety, depression, improves your aerobic capacity, so helps your heart pump more blood throughout your body, increase energy and stamina, improves flexibility, balance, and agility, and improves your muscle strength. Also, other things that can come up a lot with managing chronic illnesses, sleep comes up. So Tai Chi, along with other exercises, but Tai Chi can help to improve your sleep. And better sleep is better health. Tai Chi can improve your immunity, decrease joint pain, helps to lower blood pressure, decreases dementia risk. Tai Chi improves balance, and it reduces the risk of falls. So having less of a risk of falling reduces your risk of getting fractures, because often when people fall, they can get fractures. And getting a fracture also means that you might be put in the hospital, and hospitalization can lead to further muscle atrophy or other health complications. So focusing on things that we can do to keep our body as in shape as we can, to stay healthy, prevent illness to the best of our ability. Easier to prevent illness or manage chronic illness from getting toward complication than it is to face and manage the complications themselves. Because learning the proper technique in Tai Chi is so important, and you can apply this concept to yoga, Pilates, and other classes as well, Zumba, always better to do it in a class setting because the instructor is teaching the proper technique. If you're just watching the video at home, the drawback of that is that you don't get the input of the instructor. If they see something might be a little bit off and they want to correct you or just correct the entire class, you're going to get that when you're in a live class. You're not going to get that when you're watching the video. So especially when you're new at a certain exercise, it's best to do it in an in-person class with a certified, qualified teacher. Classes such as Tai Chi classes can be found in community centers, fitness centers, health clubs, senior centers, libraries. So look into your local areas and see what's out there. And if you want any help with looking into that, you can let our dietitians and our care managers know as well. So we talked about how Tai Chi can be done indoors or outdoors, as other exercises can also be done outdoors. There's a lot of benefits to exercising outdoors. There's also a lot of benefits to just purely being outdoors. So they kind of overlap. So think about outdoor benefits. When you exercise outdoors, you're going to get the benefit of the exercise, and you're also going to get the benefit from being outside and being in nature. So that's the great thing about exercising outdoors when the season is appropriate and when you can do so, when the conditions are right for that. Benefits of outdoors would be fresh air, sunlight. So sunlight enhances our mood. It also does help us have stronger bones because it leads to vitamin D production. And so depending on skin tone, there's different recommendations on how much vitamin D is recommended. And that's particularly in the warm, in the summer seasons, the warm seasons when you can get vitamin D. Some people don't need more than 15 minutes to get their daily vitamin D dose. Others need more depending on skin tone. We talked about improved mood. So there's a release of serotonin in response to sunlight as well. Then there are these really interesting chemicals released by trees that actually do have an aroma as well, a slight aroma. They're called phytoncides. Phytoncides are chemicals emitted by the trees, and they help to reduce stress, lower heart rate and blood pressure, and enhance mood. Of course, we can't always be outside and we can't always exercise outside. And so you do want to have your indoor options as well. Indoor options include at-home exercise routines, such as stretching and yoga. When you're indoors at a community health center or other indoor facility, then you can attend classes or do exercises there, as well as YouTube walking video and YouTube chair exercises. And we have some of those options. You can see there's a hyperlink. So we can send you those options as well. So resistance training came up before. It doesn't cause your heart rate to accelerate in a way like an aerobic exercise would, but it can still be considered like a light intensity aerobic exercise, but primarily it's not considered an aerobic exercise or a cardiovascular exercise. It's recommended for building muscle, and it also helps to improve your metabolism and helps with your bone strength. So this is very important, especially after the age of 40, as naturally our muscles start to atrophy more and more each decade that progresses. And then certain medications have side effects where muscle loss can be that. So if you are on a GLP-1, that can, as part of the weight loss, that can also include loss of muscle mass. So it's especially important for resistance training at that point, and really for anyone as we're getting older, to focus on resistance training. So recommendations for aerobic exercises is usually up to 5 times a week. Resistance training is 2 to 3 times a week. The benefits are maintaining and building muscle. So maintaining muscle, meaning reducing the rate that our muscle atrophies. So maintaining muscle as well as building muscle. And strengthening bones. So you're reducing your osteoporosis risk and reducing risk of fractures, which we talked about before, which is a good, important goal. Ways that you can do resistance training, free weights, if you have those, or if you attend a gym with those. You can also use household items like canned goods, water bottles, or bags of rice. Those are some home options. There's also resistance bands. And you can use your own body weight for resistance training when doing calisthenics, such as squats and lunges. Again, as with all the other types of exercise, we always want to get medical clearance and as well listen to your body and always continue breathing as you're exercising to prevent injury. So tune in to how you're experiencing the exercise, do it slowly, use the proper form. If you haven't ever been taught through the exercises, look into if you have an option of a gym with a personal trainer or like a free introductory session or something like that. So proper form is really important to properly target the muscles that you're working on, as well as prevent injury. So the key takeaways are: get medical clearance before starting any form of new exercise. Listen to your body, move mindfully, pay attention to how your body is feeling throughout any exercises, and make adjustments as needed. So again, you're in a class environment, but you know that you know your body best. And if you don't feel like your body is comfortable with certain positions done by the rest of the class, modify and choose a more gentle option. Connect with your breath. That helps to nourish our body with oxygen and improve our health. Also helps to keep us moving mindfully and paying attention to our body. Increasing exercise gradually. So a person who hasn't been walking at all is not going to say, I'm going to start walking 40 minutes 3 times a week. You're going to make gradual increases. So maybe 5 minutes one day, a few days later, another 5 minutes, maybe gradually building up from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, something like that. If you have any previous injuries or sensitivities in your body, particularly, it can be a good idea to divide exercise into shorter increments. So as you're increasing your total exercise throughout the week, you can also consider, if ever you find discomfort after walking a certain amount, you want to stop before you start getting that discomfort. So doing like an 8-minute walk or a 10-minute walk, and then having another 8 to 10-minute walk later in the day, instead of doing a 20-minute walk all at once. That could be a good option. So you can take 10-minute intervals, 15-minute intervals, and spread them out a couple times a day like that. And it's best when you can find a form of exercise or forms of exercise, multiple, that you enjoy and have fun with. So typically, when we do something because we're forcing ourselves to do it, but we're not actually enjoying it, it's harder to sustain that long term. Some things are necessary to do, even if it's not enjoyable right away, because it's good for our health. But that being said, if you can find things that you do find more enjoyable and just naturally things that you want to do, that's even better. And it's going to be easier for you to continue that in the long term. And we can see here from this picture that that social aspect of exercise is also great. It helps motivate us, and it also gives us a social connection, which is very important for emotional health as well as physical health. More studies are coming out now that social connection is paramount to physical health. Thank you guys so much. Questions, any questions or comments?
I think we have one question so far, but if anyone else thinks of something that you would like to ask, please just click on where it says either chat or Q&A, and we will be getting the question so Gila can answer them. So the question that we have says, what can I do if I want to start a new exercise, but I don't have money to go to the gym or join a class?
That is a great question. So looking into local community resources, there are options, but I don't know, for your particular place. It's something that we would want to look into. And I would ask your care manager and or dietitian about to look into your specific local area and what resources are out there. Because it is different based on each local community. Library classes are often, if not always, free. So there are exercise classes sometimes offered by libraries, and those would be free of charge. There could be other classes as well like that at local community centers. Now I understand, so a lot of community centers, you have to be a member, etc. But there could be community centers or other institutions that offer classes free of charge. But it's something that we'd only find out if we research that in your particular community. Other options could be places of worship. So maybe there's a church in your neighborhood that has exercise classes that are free of charge. So just looking into what's out there and doing a little bit of research. That's a great question.
Okay, yeah, and another one I know Gila said when you're trying to start a new exercise, it's better to do it like with an instructor, and that's like the best way. But if nothing else works, then doing something that you think is safe and doing like a video on YouTube. There's a lot of resources. You can start with sitting exercises, like something that won't require like put you in any danger of injuring yourself or that sort of thing. And
Yes.
I think
Let me just
someone,
add to that.
yeah.
We have those links, those hyperlinks with a walking video and a chair exercise video, which we often share with our patients. So we can send that to you guys, correct, Abigail?
Yeah, so we're going to have like this meeting is being recorded. So we are going to have the recording available so you can replay it if you want. If there's anything that Gila said that you want to review, or if you just want to get through the presentation, you can do that. And then we will put those links under the video just that you can also access them as well.
Yeah, great.
And I think one of the patients has like your hand up, but there's no question here. Like Miss Dennis or Mr. Dennis, it says that you have a question, but then you haven't give us the question, so you can just type it in the chat box or the Q&A box, and we will be happy to answer it. Okay, we'll give you a couple of minutes. I don't see if you're typing or not. In case that you don't get through the question or you don't figure out where the Q&A is, you can always ask your question to the care manager, and she will be happy to send us the question and we can answer it. But if you can, please just type it in the Q&A box just that we can answer it. Looks like Dennis removed the hand, so I don't know if there's a question or not.
Oh, here.
Oh, it says I sent it. Okay.
Oh, hi, I do see something. I appreciate this. Okay. So somebody asked about, they said they often have a grasp for what I'm trying to say. They're worried about like memory issues they might be having. And okay. And that is okay as well. I don't see the question relating to exercise there. I see the comment about not being sure what they were trying to say. Okay. But we can, I mean, just to speak to that real quick, it's totally okay to have a question and then forget the question. And maybe it'll come back later. And like Abigail said, there's going to be a recording of the webinar so you can rewatch it, and maybe that'll kind of like trigger your question to come back. But these are always, you know, this is an opening for conversation and thoughts. So certainly review it again. And even if you did have all your questions answered today, if you watch it again in a few weeks, maybe new questions will come up. So it's great that you guys are going to be able
Yeah,
to.
so if any of you think of questions, then ask us, your dietitians or your care managers, and we will be happy to answer them and or send you the response.
Okay, yes, and then someone clarified that they did want to know that exercise helps dementia onset. Yes, so exercise is one of many factors that can help to decrease risk of dementia. That is correct.
Yeah, and I did saw like actually this morning I was watching the news and I saw that there like that different studies are demonstrating that even like 10 minutes of exercise per day can delay or even like halt the beginning of dementia. So if you are starting to forget things or that's something you're afraid of, or you're runs in your family, then start to do some type of activity. And that research study showed that any type of exercise, cardio exercise, strength exercise. So if you get to go for a walk, or if you do exercises with dumbbells, if you don't have dumbbells, you can do just like water bottles or cans, and then just do some arm exercises, leg raises. Any type of movement is going to get some oxygen flowing and help with the circulation. So it helps with dementia, it helps with balancing blood sugars, with many different things.
Okay, and exactly how are the attendees getting the recordings? Someone just asked, so specifically, how do they get the recording?
You will have to ask your care manager or dietitian to share the link with you, and we can send it to you via email or text, and we'll just give you the link, and then you will click it, and then you will be able to see the recording of this webinar and all the previous webinars. But
Okay.
you will have to ask for it, and we will be happy to send it to you. And if you don't have like if you're not working one-on-one with a care manager or a dietitian, that where you register for the webinar, you can send an email to that email and then saying, hey, I would like to have the recording, and we will be happy to send it to you.
Can you repeat the email address they should email if they
Yeah,
want?
so it's success@rpmlogix.com. Success@rpmlogix.com. So you can just email us and say like, hey, I would like the recording of the latest webinar, and we will send it to you.
Just gonna write that as success at RP.
Okay, so well, I think those are all of the questions. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you for the information, Gila. It was very helpful. And again, we will put all of the links and then also the recording available, just that you can rewatch it, or if you can share it with your family, or just you can replay it in a couple of weeks. Well, thanks everyone for coming, and we will have the same presentation again at 7 p.m. If you want to join, you can use the same link. Sometimes if you would like to watch it live again, more than welcome to. And if not, then just look out for those invites. We will have another webinar next month, and every month we present a different topic. So we hope and wish that you are able to attend more of our webinars to come. Thanks everyone. Thank you,
you
Gila.
guys so much. Thank you. Happy autumn, happy Thanksgiving. Have a good day.